The Queen's Gambit is a legendary opening that sets the stage for deep strategy and powerful attacks. Mastering its key lines gives white control and flexibility from the very first moves. d4, d5, c4. These are moves to enter the Queen's Gambit. In the Queen's Gambit accepted, black plays d takes c4, accepting the pawn. White typically responds with knight f3, aiming to prevent black from advancing with e5. If black plays knight f6, white continues with e3, preparing to take back the pawn on c4 with the bishop. Black tries to hold the pawn with b5. White challenges the queenside structure with a4. If black defends with c6, white breaks open the queenside with a takes b5, c takes b5, and then b3, using active play to undermine black's hold on the queenside while accelerating development. In this middle game, white should focus on controlling the center, often aiming to play e4 to restrict black's options. From there, white can apply steady pressure on the queenside, especially targeting the b and c pawn. In the Queen's Gambit declined, black supports the d5 pawn with e6, keeping a strong central presence but limiting their light-squared bishop. White usually develops with knight c3, and often chooses the exchange variation with c takes d5. After e takes d5, white develops naturally with moves like bishop g5, pinning the knight on f6, while black often responds with bishop e7. White continues with e3, bishop d3, setting up to control the center and preparing for pawn breaks with e4, or the queenside minority attack with b4, b5. Black might go aggressive from the early game with c5. Don't take the pawn. Play knight f3, and after knight c6, take on d5. After exchange, take on c5, and then take on d5 again with your queen. In the Slav defense, black plays d4, d5, c4, c6, supporting d5, solidly without blocking the light-squared bishop. White continues with knight c3, and after knight f6, plays e3, intending to develop smoothly with moves like knight f3, bishop e2, and castling. If black adopts the Schlechter Slav with g6, white can break with c takes d5 and follow with queen b3 to put pressure on black's weakened light squares. In the Queen's Gambit accepted, after black captures the pawn on c4, white plays e3 to quickly recover the pawn. Black defends with b5, and white challenges this by advancing a4, attacking the b5 pawn. Black fortifies their position with c6, but white captures on b5. Black recaptures with b5, hoping to hold on to the extra pawn. White then plays queen to f3, threatening black's rook on a8 and increasing pressure. Black responds with knight to c6 to protect the rook. White capitalizes by playing queen takes c6, checking black's king. Black blocks with bishop to d7, but white moves the queen to a6, dominating the board. In attempting to keep the extra pawn, black has fallen into a dangerous trap, leaving white with a superior position and a winning advantage. This illustrates the risks black faces in the Queen's Gambit accepted when trying too hard to retain the gambit pawn. In the Berliner Baltic trap, after d4, d5, c4, knight f6, c takes d5, knight d5, white plays e4, forcing black's knight back to b6. White then develops with knight c3 and knight f3, while black plays bishop g4. White advances with d5, and after knight e5, captures with knight takes e5. Black plays bishop takes on d1, but white responds with bishop b5 check, checking the king. This leads to a precarious position for black, demonstrating the traps that can arise in this line. The Queen's Gambit is a rich opening that offers white central control and multiple strategic options, depending on black's replies. It allows white to steer the game towards favorable middle game positions, adapting based on black's defenses.